And this is the epitome of enabling. Literally, it is almost the definition, because the definition of enabling is doing for them what they can and must, in fact, do for themselves. Really, if you try to help them avoid the consequences of doing something for them, because otherwise they're going to get more into consequences, you're actually allowing them to get into a position where those consequences will become exponentially greater in the long run, right? Helping people to avoid negative consequences is the definition of enabling. Because how are you going to make an impact on someone changing their mind to change their life if there's no ramifications for their stupid behavior in the first place? If you allow yourself to clean up the messes, sweep up, do everything, right? It is going to cause that disease to just take hold even more, right? So because addiction is inherently affects the entire family system, right? Remember, we said that it's systemic and that we ourselves, as family members, spouses and parents of addicts, become sicker. And why do we become sicker? Because we, like them, like the addict, the identified patient, develop tolerance. They develop tolerance to drugs, which means they got to do more drugs. It means they got to get more money and do more shady stuff and more bad behavior and more theft. And we develop a tolerance to that behavior. The first time they do it, we're like, oh my God, I can't believe he did that. And the second time we're like, wow, that sucked. And by the third time you're like, oh my God, I wish he wouldn't do that. And by the fifth and sixth and seventh time you're like, it's just Jack. That's what he does. I'm just gonna leave money out so he doesn't have to go through my purse and steal it. That way I can regulate. I'll lock my purse up and I'll leave the 20, 30 bucks lying around. So now this makes you sick, because in essence, what you're doing is now giving him the money. Instead of him taking it from you, you're basically co-signing that behavior. And that's the whole point. And the members of the family become ill just by being around the addict. It is the only mental health issue that is transmittable just by osmosis. And because we get sick just by proximity, this increases our enabling without us even knowing it. Because if I'm getting sicker just being in proximity to the active addict, part of my sickness is allowing their sickness to get worse, which means it's an Ouroboros that feeds on itself over and over. I enable them, they get sicker. I get immune to that sickness, so I get sicker, thereby enabling them to be sicker, and it just goes back and forth and back and forth.
It's almost like a drug of choice.
It really is. It really is, right? It's the symptoms of this disease is that you are big. I can't even read it. What is it? Give me a little bit of, there you go. Is that you are convinced you don't have it, right? And it works for both. Like, there's a line in the big book that says we do not like to say we don't like
to pronounce any individual as alcoholic.
Yes, we do not like to pronounce any individual as alcoholic, right? Why do we not like to do it? Because in a perfect world, people with this disease, alcoholic or addict, would self-diagnose. They would recognize the damage that they're doing to themselves, their families, and the people they love, and they would self-diagnose. But that's really hard to do, because one of the diagnostic symptoms of having the disease of alcoholism and drug addiction is that your disease tells you you don't have the disease. And if that's the symptomology of the disease, if you catch the disease from your loved one, you catch the same symptomological reality, that you start to become so immune to the behavior that you think it's not bad, and you think that enabling them is not bad because you're minimizing the potential for them to die or get hurt or be out in the cold, when all you're doing is allowing them to take advantage of you and use more drugs more often, more faster, more better, more times, and in a more safe environment where they're apt to do more risky behaviors. That's the whole thing. That's why it sucks so bad. All right, let's move on to the next one.
Third time's the charm.
Third time's the charm.
Can I, no, keep going. I'll get.
All right. After the next. So, enabling, right? So, The behavior of enabling is giving money when asked. So let's ask
So the next couple slides are a couple examples. Of
specifics. Yeah, we're going to talk about specific things because there are legitimately specific ways to enable and specific protocols that are helping that are not in fact enabling, and they are very specific. So let me ask you a question. Does the person that I love that is an addict constantly need to be in financial trouble? Are they always asking me for money? Like always, right? Yeah, right away. It's like in the 90%. Yes, of course they're asking me for money. It's awesome. Just because they ask doesn't mean you got to give it to them. It's okay. Asking is.
Yeah, my mom always said never hurts to ask, but no is also
A complete sentence.
Yeah.
Both of those things are true. Yep. How do you get an upgrade on a plane? Yes. That's fine. That's it.
All right. Let's take a look.
Let's take a look. It's probably pretty high up there, I guess. Yeah, there you go. 83%, 18%, 80-20 split pretty much. Yeah, of course they're asking for money, right? And they always have. Remember, we were talking about the things before, the rationalizations, the justifications. Why? Because they always have justifications for those things. There we go. And what are those justifications? Well, you know, I got to go to the doctor because I got an ingrown thing that doesn't want to my thing in the Friday, and then the judge has got to make restitution, and I got community service, and I got no way to get there, and I need gas because I can't drive the community service, and then they're going to have, and then I got to go to work on Tuesday because I got, you know, if I can't have the job, I need the car, and then I need the money for the job. You better give me, and then I need to get new tires, so I'm going to need at least $400 for that, right? When the reality of it is what? I'm going to beg, I'm going to plead, I'm going to make up a whole bunch of cockamamie stories, right? And I'm going to try to keep you hostage by implying that if you don't give me this, my entire life is going to come crashing around through no fault of my own. I will use that to take you hostage and manipulate you because really I just want the money to get high and I'll worry about those problems later. Do not be deceived. It is a near certainty, an almost absolute truth that they will use that money absolutely to support their habit, beyond a shadow of a doubt. Now, they may not use all of it because they may need actually like $1.50 in gas to drive to the dope man. But other than that, no, because trust me, they're going to get their fix. They're going to go shoot up in the bathroom at the gas station, and they're going to panhandle for money to drive home because that's the way it works. Trust me. Let's look at the next behavior. Here's another enabling behavior, which I find to be problematic. Paying for a car, right? Well, what would be the justification in that, right? So here's the argument, right? I need to have, wait, why is that? I think that doesn't make sense. Can I be convinced by an argument? Okay, let's ask the question. Because here's the deal. If it seems like they're trying to move.
I don't have that question.
I don't have that question.
Let's not ask it.
Let's not ask it. So let's just talk about the justification.
Well, I'd think about it. If you guys have bought a car, my mom's not too proud of it, but let's just call it what it was. My reward for completing a long-term treatment center successfully was a car. And this is back 15 years ago, before she had armed herself with the facts. And,
Yeah.
I help, you know, I'm down in Florida. It's not like New York City where I grew up. I can't just jump on a bus, which I learned you can do here.
Absolutely. There's actually really good public transportation.
And I can't get to work, and I'm not going to be able to get to my meetings. Don't you want me to go to my meetings?
Be sober, right?
And then they offered me a car, and I was like, well, I mean, it's used. I mean, don't you think that, like, if it breaks down, it's going to end up costing you more money, so you should probably just get me a new car. I mean, I was not well, nor was she. But now we're both well.
Yeah.
And guess what? I got sober, and I financed my own vehicle.
You got a car. It's
And my mom
awesome.
didn't help with a penny. So I
That's-
worked really hard to raise my credit score and save money, and I financed my own vehicle. So it's also possible to do that.
It is indeed. It is indeed. So here's the justification. Well, insurance, and there's a car payment. I need gas, right? And I need to have it. I got to go to school. I got to go to work. You don't want me to be a bum. You want me to get sober. So now I got to increase my life, right? But what's the reality of all these arguments? Well, it's very simple. I use it to go meet the drug dealer, right? I use it when I'm out of money to buy drugs I literally rent myself as a dope Uber to the drug dealer, where I drive around and transport drugs to other people, which, by the way, is using a vehicle that you purchased from me to commit multiple felonies, by the way. And, and then I'll give rides to them because they need it. And that way I can get free dope or free drinks from the guy, and he'll take care of me, and I become his literal junkie chauffeur, right? And this is what happens. And trust me, drug dealers like new cars that are not beat up because it looks legitimate. Nobody I got a little guy just driving. That's awesome. Just two guys hanging out in the car. Nobody knows. All right.
Got a question.
Sure, let's hear it.
I'm going to get Nadia on the line.
Nadia.
I think Nadia shared last week.
She did. She's our friend.
Yeah, we love Nadia. It's a good question she has. Nadia, you just need to unmute over there. Oh.
Yeah, I got it.
Okay, perfect.
Как дела?
Как дела? Хорошо. Hello. So, listen, guys, I love you. You're always so informative. It's such a great, even if I know certain things, it's a wonderful reminder. It just gives me boost, but a lot of things I don't know. Before I get to the question that I typed, I have a car story as well with my son.
Okay.
And little did I know, if I only knew then what I know now, it would have never happened, right? So I co-financed his new car because he got a great job offer and he was going to get some, good money and everything, but he was still in active addiction, unfortunately. It was a huge mistake. Well, we got rid of a car, but never co-sign anything, please. That would be my advice.
Okay.
But my question is this about enabling. I walk this fine line all the time, every day, many times a day, especially when my son was in active addiction. He's in treatment now. And what I found more difficult is the fact that he's dual diagnosis. I find myself treating him like a little bit like a quote unquote sick child, you see, especially when it's mental, especially when I'm wondering, okay, well, can he really fend for himself? He's capable, he's bright, but when he has psychosis or he's diagnosed with bipolar or whatever, part of me, Mark, you were talking about feeling the pain. Part of me feels so sad and in pain for him. First of all, just to begin with, that he has to go through it, that he draw this luck. And second of all, it must be kind of mentally really difficult. He used to say about bipolar, like, Mom, I don't know what kind of person I will wake up tomorrow. It must be real tough. So I find myself feeling sorry. So when the person is with addiction, as my son, I find myself feeling more angry, right? At his questions, demands. But when I see him as a sick person, I find myself less reluctant to say no and more in terms of enabling. So that's my question. Are the rules the same for dual diagnosis, which probably majority of people are anyway, and for just person, I don't know if such thing exists, like person
You're
just has addiction?
Who knows? Yeah. All right, so it's an amazing question. There's one thing I want to say that it wasn't part of the question, but I have to say this because it reminded me of something. The expression that Nadia said, she said, if I only knew then what I know now, right? And we beat ourselves up with that all the time. It's called hindsight bias, right? And it's literally a bias on something that is self-deprecating. Because the truth is, you didn't know then what you know now. You couldn't, and you didn't, which means you knew then what you knew then, and you made the choices based on what you knew then. Now that you know, make different choices now. Don't beat yourself over something that happened before. Now, the question is it different for dual diagnosis? And then the sub question is there any such thing as a pure alcoholic? I don't know. But basically, I know that most people that are alcoholic and drug addict have a core issue, that whether it's depression or sadness and this and that. But when you're talking about a bipolar diagnosis or schizophrenia, schizoaffective, manic depression, these things where there's these violent oscillations in temperament, right? It is different in as much as you need to become well versed and adept in recognizing the symptomology of the disease of alcoholism and the disease of the mental disorder. And this is where it becomes very hard. A lot of times, those symptomologies look the same, especially in early recovery and long-term detoxification. Many people, especially, and people self-medicate, right? So you do have to have the boundaries. You do have to prevent the enabling. And I understand that you feel the pain for that person, as well you should. But that doesn't mean that you should allow the pain that you feel for their suffering, your commiseration with them, to take your boundary and strength out from under you and put them in a position where they will feel more pain down the line, right? And so it reminds me of a story. So I once had this guy that I knew, and he called me up and he wanted me to come rescue him and take him to detox. And so I called my sponsor, and my sponsor said, no, don't do it. Don't do it. It's not your business. And so, of course, I didn't listen to him because I was barely sober and I knew everything. And I go to rescue this guy, and it was a shit show. It went very badly. And I ended up totaling my car, right? And I called my sponsor, and he immediately hung up on me. He said, I told you so, and he clicked off the phone. But when we got together later, a couple days later to talk, he told me something hugely important. And this is, it doesn't, I mean, it applies, but it's not the exact answer, but it's kind of like one of those blanket axioms that's effective. He said, you can carry the message, you cannot carry the alcoholic, right? So you have to be able to determine, when am I helping and when am I enabling? And that comes with, what am I transmitting? Am I transmitting something they can do even though they're sick and may not want to, and it may appear that they're in like a mental health episode? Or do I dial it back and separate until they're stable and then address it on the alcoholism and drug addiction basis? It's a tightrope to walk, and I don't envy your situation on it, but I have full confidence that you and your own program and what you've learned and who you are and what you've become now is the perfect person for this job, because and seek the solace and the counsel of your friends in recovery and your sponsor and all those things. Go to your resources, right? Do I almost used to do what do you call it, polls. Anytime I wanted to make a decision, I poll all the people I knew, my sponsor, and all this, because the more information I had and the more input, usually the better the decision was. So use your resources, and you're definitely strong enough, and you definitely know enough about this disease to make those determinations. Just be careful and always ask for help and pray. Prayer's huge, right?
Guys, David Zaif here back again with you. We really hope you enjoyed our video, and we really hope that you learned something. You also got to meet myself and Rabbi Mark in our more professional setting, and we really believe that this is the ticket for you to get all of the information that you've been lacking for so long. And the good news is it's simple. All you have to do is click on the button below for access to all the videos in our library. So take that first step of your journey right now, and I promise that we'll be there with you every step of the way.